international attention because Kanu's detention has received significant international attention and support, including from the United Nations. Amnesty International condemned the Nigerian government's handling of the protest, calling for an independent investigation into the use of force against protesters. Now, Charles Soludo, the governor of Anambra State, is not left out. He affirmed that protesters have a constitutional right to demand Nnamdi Kanu's release, while also emphasizing the need for peaceful protest. I mean, the way he puts it, he says, I am constitutionally binded to deliver governance, and social activists are constitutionally correct to also put out protests. However, he says, it has to be peaceful, it has to be based on decorum. And should it be that way, then there will be no need to want to hamper such protest. But government officials have criticized the protesters. They're saying that they were violent and that they posed a threat to national security. So at what point does a protest go violent? It is also very important to put out there that there was an anti-Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. There was an anti-hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. So it makes you wonder where all of these are coming from. Well, Nnamdi Kanu has been in detention since 2021 when he was arrested and renditioned from Kenya to Nigeria. Now, his detention is marked by controversy. Critics are arguing that the Nigerian government has disregarded court orders and due process in this case. So why is it still being held? The Nigerian government has accused Kanu of treason and terrorism charges he denies. So the government claims that Nnamdi Kanu's advocacy for Biafran independence poses a threat to national security. All right? So this is what the conversation is about, basically. But we will be indeed bordering basically on the right to protest. The right to protest. What is the right to protest? Do we not have a constitution that speaks on such matters? Oh yes, we do have a constitution that speaks on such matters. All right? So this entire process yesterday has raised some very, very revealing revelations. I mean, in Nigeria, the right to peaceful assembly and protest is guaranteed under Section 40 of the 1999 Constitution. And it states very clearly that every person shall be entitled to assemble freely and associate with other persons. And in particular, he may form or belong to any political party, trade union, or any other association for the protection of his interests. However, though, the protest constitutionality depends on whether they were peaceful and lawful. So if the protests were violent or disrupted public order, they might be considered unlawful. Now, regarding democracy, protests are a fundamental aspect of democratic expression. Fundamental aspect of democratic expression. It allows citizens to voice grievances and demand accountability. Now, the key is whether the protest aligned with democratic values. One of such would be non-violence, respect for the rule of law. So, if you were to take in context Nnamdi Kanu's detention and trial, which has, by the way, sparked a deepening controversy, with some arguing it's a matter of national security. I mean, you've heard some family members say that. I mean, we don't know what this release might cause for the larger society as well as the nation. Others are seeing it as a human rights issue. So the protest likely reflects the public's desire for his release. And there are some concerns being cited about due process and fair trial and all of that. Ultimately, though, assessing the constitutionality and democratic legitimacy of the protest requires examining the specific circumstances, especially including the protesters' methods and the government's response. All right, so we are indeed connecting with our guest now. It's going to be via phone call, as he cannot make it in the studio this morning. And let's understand, where did it go wrong exactly? The protesters surpass their limits, especially within the provision of the Constitution, by being chaotic. If you also recall that there has been measures, very, very strong measures by the NPF in view or with regards to the protest even in court. And a court ruling had come out saying that the police didn't have a right to stop a peaceful protest because it is constitutional. There has been talks about where and how this protest would be conducted. But then again, it makes us want to wonder and ask some more questions. How did this situation degenerate up until here? Secondly, if the release of Nnamdi Kanu were to be a matter of national security, would we go on with it? Should we go on with it under the canopy of human rights? And if there are human rights challenges or health challenges that the individual in himself is going through, shouldn't he have a right to assess all of the medical care until he is better and stronger enough to stand trial? How have we ever come to a place where the only thing that seems to catch whether the government's attention or human rights or civil rights attention or the people's attention is when we go out protesting? Now, haven't you noticed that? If you haven't, I have. I mean, even since when I was a little baby, a little boy, we already started seeing all of these. If it is not a protest, if it is not a march on the roadways, on the streets, demands here and there, it so seems as though nobody will catch anybody's attention. And that's awful sad. And Nigerians are saying that, hey, don't you think that this is long overdue? If you also recall that there was rumors that made it through into social media that, oh, he has been freed, but there has been some signage that was done between himself, his counsel, and the federal government and all of that. But all of these are rumors. They are not statements of fact, and that's why we encourage that whatever you say on here, especially on this platform as a family member, let it be based on civility and responsibility. Let it also be based on credible information, the type that you, if called upon, can indeed defend without fear or favor. All right, Every way to connect with our guest now is not forthwith, but let me bring up some stakeholders' statements to you. I mean, we saw a statement from Omoyele Sowore, who says no amount of intimidation will silence us. We will continue to demand justice and freedom for Nnamdi Kanu and all Nigerians. Now, Aloy Ejimako, the government, he says the government should respect the court's orders and release Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally. Amnesty International waded into the discourse too as well, where they said that the Nigerian government must respect and facilitate the right to peaceful protest as guaranteed by international human rights law. Governor Charles Soludo of Anambra State, he had said protesters have a constitutional right to demand Nnamdi Kanu's release, but they should do so peacefully. Now, the Nigerian police, in defense, have also said that they acted within the bounds of the law and in compliance with a court order restricting protests near sensitive government locations. All right? So they said we only acted based on the law. And a court injunction has been put in place, an order that, look, sensitive facilities must be shunned in view of the protest. All right, Comrade Gerald Okachi, good morning and welcome to the discourse.
Yes, how are you doing this morning?
Oh, very well, thank you, Comrade. Feels good to hear your voice and engage with you this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, Comrade, let's look into the matter straight on, head on. The hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest is highlighted ongoing challenges of balancing national security with human rights and freedom of expression. Similar protests have been seen in other countries, such as South Africa's hashtag Free Must Fall, or Fees Must Fall, I beg your pardon, movement, and India's hashtag Me Too movement. I'd like you to take us through how yesterday's protest actually went. Quite a number of conversations surrounding it. One of such would be the place of protesters turned violent, right? That's one of the allegations. Another allegation was that protesters defied a court ruling or order that says avoid certain infrastructure, key infrastructure in the society, avoid it. One of such would be the Aso Rock Villa and all. Talk to us about this.
It's unfortunate that the government of Nigeria continues to repeat mistakes or continue to, play the same gimmick that we have often known them over the years. The claim of yesterday very peaceful and civil protest to be violent, I don't know where they are bringing that from. Perhaps what makes this violence is the suppression that was carried out by the Nigerian police and joint task force. Where those that were exercising their rights as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution, Section 40, among others. We are tear gassed, we are manhandled, we are arrested. Their rights to expression we are grossly infringed upon. And perhaps that is the violence that they are bringing. You can't beat a child and you ask the child not to cry. And at the same time, you are claiming that the child, is overcrying. I don't know where the issue of violence of yesterday comes from. Them claiming that they are arrested because of violence. Then talking about the restricted area. I don't know what they mean by restricted areas. Tear gas that were carried out yesterday was done at Otako, Apo, Gudu, and some other areas. So, how is that areas, part of the so-claimed or, purported claimed areas?
So you didn't go to the National Assembly? You didn't go to the Aso Rock? They didn't take it there? Wasn't it violent?
Video. Was there any video or report that showed that protesters were at the Aso Rock? They restricted everywhere. They blocked everywhere, every entrance to Abuja yesterday, including this morning. You know, this kind of thing, we have never seen it. The last time we see similar kind of suppression was in military days. They blocked every entrance to Abuja, you know, and they perpetuated what they did yesterday. So how can they claim that protesters we are seeing at Aso Rock when they have blocked everywhere? We carried that peaceful protest demanding, which is enshrined in our constitution, which is our right, demanding the release of Nnamdi Kanu to douse tension that we have often seen in the southeast Nigeria, where they have experienced a lot of economic losses. So what happened yesterday is not an act of rebellion. It's Nigerians, citizens coming together to demand from the authority to obey court order that was given 3 years ago at appeal, which discharged all the accusations levied against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and the demand that he should be released. But the federal government refused and continues trial. We believe that political solution is the best way to handle what is happening with regards to trial of Nnamdi Kanu. That is the best way.
So are you not worried?
They can use superior argument to present their case and not by suppression, which is not inconsistent with our laws and every treaty that Nigeria is a signatory to. So what happened yesterday is very shameful, is condemnable to say the least, to the point that you have to arrest the brother of Nnamdi Kanu, the lawyers, and other citizens that came out to society.
Was it right for the lawyer to also join in a said protest over his, what I call it, a council now, at this point? Was it very right?
There's no law that he has breached upon. There's no law that he joined protest. That is his right. He expressed that is captured in the Constitution, Section 40, Section 39, and so on and so forth. So what law has he broken? There's nothing like he's a citizen. Every citizen shares the same right.
Okay. Well, we will just open the phone lines. You say, according to you, that the protest was peaceful and
very peaceful.
There was no place where protesters turned violent. And Nigerians are trying to understand, as well as the international community and the global networks watching us live right now, they are trying to understand why there was a use of police force, tear gassing. What would have instigated such? Some have even claimed that there were rubber bullets, even live shots, heard. I don't know.
I think Officer Benjamin or Josephine, of FCT or the law enforcement agencies will be in better position to tell us why they did what they did yesterday.
Okay. Well,
why they tear gas peaceful protesters?
Right.
Why the attack on the Nigerian citizens yesterday that are carrying out their lawful duty, that expressing their God-given right to expression, to assembly? They should be in better position to tell us that.
Okay, they should be in better
position. Because I see no reason whatsoever, for them to embark on what they did yesterday. Don't forget that the Nigerian courts have made it clear that nobody, Nigerian police doesn't have right to demand notification for any protest.
True.
As the court ruled in the ANPP case versus IGP in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Even at that, my organization wrote to the CP, notifying them that they will have a peaceful protest on the 20th, which is yesterday, to press home our demands that we need security. They invited us for a meeting. That was on a Friday. To know our routes and how we intend to engage. So surprising to see what happened yesterday. Rather than for police to come and possibly protect the protesters and maybe guide them in their routes or movements, to see that their right to protest cannot infringe on other person's rights.
So you're saying that there was a breach, there was a breach of agreement.
We wrote to them now. Even when they don't move, we don't need to do that. Court has made it clear.
I understand.
But for
So you're
us to be on the
saying,
side of law,
So
for
you're
us
saying-
to be,
you're saying there was a breach in agreement because you said you had a meeting, you both parties met still, you still wrote.
we wrote to them notifying them that on the 20th, we'll be marching on the streets of Abuja, pressing home these demands. And we'll be requiring protection from the police.
Okay. So from
That
what
is the
from the
lawful thing to do.
aftermath, from the
So
aftermath.
if police are to come,
Yes.
what do you do? What they are expected to do, their work to do there is to protest protesters, to see that it doesn't turn violent,
Okay.
and there will not be maybe a counter or what they usually term as pro and against,
Anti-protest.
anti. You understand? And see that whatever we want to do, we do it in a very peaceful way and lawful way. Whether it takes us 1 or 2 hours or 3 hours to do whatever we want to do and make our demand, it would have been the best.
Okay.
Rather than coming from behind while we are just marching peacefully, you start shooting at us. It doesn't tell good. And don't forget that yesterday marked the 5th memorial of EndSARS, where Nigerians were massacred, carrying Nigerian flag, demanding an end to police brutality. At the same time, we're experiencing this kind of thing. It doesn't tell good in a democratic system. And to even believe that a government that benefited from protests, a government that is a product of protests, a government that prides itself as the leaders and promoters of democracy, that we look up to like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will be seen under his regime to suppress decent voices. It's unfortunate, to say the least.
All right, I'll put a peg to your thoughts. Let's go pay some bills. We'll be right back in a short bit with the discourse. All right? And let's just go pay some bills. I mean, I guess it's getting heavy and really serious now. We'll be right back in a short bit. Don't go away.
Your #1 radio experience you can count on. Eagles.